Let's take a look at the loan forgiveness application, Form 3508. And we're going to use a sample childcare provider by the name of All Day Daycare. All Day Daycare Incorporated is a center childcare provider in Somewhere, Texas. Julieta Perez owns the center and before the pandemic had 3 full-time W-2 employees. Based on her payroll in 2019, she received a loan of $28,250 on June 2nd, 2020. Since she just had started a biweekly pay period, she opted to start her PPP on the next period, which began on June 15th, 2020. So here's her start date of her covered pay period. Julieta was able to have 2 of her 3 employees come back due to the additional cost of smaller class sizes, cleaning, and PPE. As shown in Table 1, both Tan and Chris were returned to full-time. Due to the reduced number of children they could have on site, they had to reduce Chris's payroll by 30%, from $10 to $7. Tan's payroll remained at $10 an hour. Tan made $9,600 in the forgiveness period, and Chris made $6,720 and had $2,880 less in wages, which we need to record since it was more than a 25% reduction. So when filling out Schedule A, Julieta put Tan and Chris's wages in line 1 and recorded that there were 2 FTE employees in line 2. The total reduction was the $2,880, and she had no employees with annual salaries over $100,000. So lines 4 and 5 were 0. She paid $681 in state compensation and state compensation taxes, so she entered it on line 8. For her own pay, she used her net profit from line 31 of her 2019 Schedule C, which was $55,000. When she divides $55,000 by 12, she had an average monthly pay for herself of $4,583. When multiplied by 2.5, she had total owner compensation of $11,458, which she entered in line 9. She totaled her Schedule A in line 10 and had $27,778 in payroll costs. Now, Julieta goes back to page 1 of Form 3508, and she enters the total on Schedule A in line 10, page 1, for her total payroll, $27,778. Her rent and utilities for the period were $5,866 and $854, which she enters on line 3 and 4. Julieta now goes to her adjustments. She reduced Chris's pay, so she takes the amount from box 3 of the table on page 4, which is that $2,880, and she enters it here on line 5. On line 6, she adds together lines 1 through 4, and subtracts line 5. So here's what she did. Line 1 is 27,778. Line 2 is 0. Line 3 is 5,866. Line 4 is 854. So the total of all those lines is 34,498. So she takes that total of 34,498 and subtracts line 5, which is 2,880, to come up with the figure of 31,618, which she enters here on line 6. For her FTE reduction quotient on line 7, she looked at the safe harbor questions. She couldn't return her third employee because of the cost of complying with federal and state guidance on class size, cleaning, and PPE. So she checked safe harbor. So she checks safe harbor here, and she puts a 1 on line 13. So let's go back to line 13. Okay, here. So she puts a check for the safe harbor, and she puts a 1 on line 13 on page 3. She put that 1 on page 1, line 7 as well. And back on page 1 for line 8, she then had 31,618, which was line 6 multiplied by line 7. Her total loan of 28,250 was entered on line 9. And for line 10, she divided line 8 by 0.6 as it describes, for a total of $38,896. Julietta's total forgiveness, which is here on line 11, was the lowest number, her total loan, $28,250. She goes on to initial the representations and certifications, signs her forgiveness request, and sends it to her lender so that they can complete her forgiveness application.